up and down the pile, trying to get some mussels for dinner. So
Yeah.
go
Well,
from one end to the other.
nothing wrong with mussels, nothing wrong with mussels. But, a lot of people say to me, as a matter of fact, I had a commercial grower wanting to grow blue mussels along with their oysters. And I'm telling you, if you get I don't have to tell you, Chris, because you're living the problem that happens with mussels. Once you get them in your system, they become a fouling organism and they'll take over, which is not the worst thing in the world. But if you're, I used to give a lecture. It's on our website, the Oysters of France and Canada. And there's a shot of an oyster grower in the Bredor Lakes, and he pulls up his oyster thing, and you can't see anything but blue mussels. And he's like, well, yeah, and the blue mussels have taken over it. And I said to him, why don't you grow blue mussels? I mean, you have no oysters there, but you got a lot of blue mussels. And he said, well, we can't compete with PEI because that's all they do is grow a ton of mussels. So but for the homeowner, you might be able to get some mussels out of the deal.
Interesting. So you regaled us last time with your stories of, around the world on a clipper ship, or at least down the Atlantic coast. When I used to do a fair amount of blue water sailing, nothing close to the distances you went, but you always had to pull the through hole fittings and clean out the mussels. They are absolutely.
Well, and I'll tell you another funny kind of, for some people might not have been funny, but back in the day when the zebra mussels came into the Great Lakes, that mussel is a remarkable story because it's a freshwater mussel with a marine larval cycle, which is rare. Okay, so a lot of freshwater shellfish bivalves in the lakes have a larval stage called a Glochidia larvae, and the Glochidia larvae sticks in the gills of fish to incubate. So you need live fish incubation. Well, the zebra mussel has the exact same life cycle as the blue mussel, our marine mussel. So when it came over in the bilge water of a Balkan trader coming to get grain, and they dumped their bilge water into the Great Lakes, they basically inoculated the lakes with these larvae that were about to set. And when they hit the lakes, they were like, yeah, baby, this is awesome. And they exploded. And what happened was, on the Great Lakes, the power plants didn't have our marine system. We have two-inch intake lines for our pump. One gets clogged with mussels, like you were saying, your through hole fittings gets completely socked in with fouling organisms, including mussels and whatnot. And what you do is you shut it off, let it go anoxic and die, and turn the B line on. Well, down in the Great Lakes, they only had one 12-inch intake pipe. And that became completely occluded, it turned a 1-foot pipe into a 3/4-inch opening, and it shut all the power plants down. So it's like the environmental monkey wrench that all the environmentalists wanted for shutting down industry on the lakes. The other thing they did was their remarkable filter feeder. So they cleaned the lakes of all the, you remember when we were kids, you could set Lake Erie on, you could light a match and it would burn.
Cleveland, the mistake by the lake, absolutely. And I remember catching three-eyed striped bass with my grandfather in the Hudson.
Yeah, so I haven't really kept up with what the status is with the rib mussel, but I think it's still considered to be a problem in the lakes because it is evasive and spread around. But anyway, good. We've got some people here. Welcome everybody. Oh, we got lots of people here. What are all you people? I guess nobody really has anything to do on at night before dinner or something. Or
I
maybe,
see you started recording, right?
yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. No.
I'll take care of that.
Good job. You
Yeah,
did.
yeah. I just thought Chris's banter was worth saving, so we saved the banter for the general public. So now we can. And by the way, so Darcy and I were talking about how she eggs me on to to try to do a good job with these little get-togethers. And it is fun to do the get-togethers. We record it for people that can't come the day of. And hopefully there's some information that you get out of it. But the truth is, we have all of the, we used to do this lecture series year in and year out, where I gave basically 11 lectures on all of the comings and goings of aquaculture. And they're all recorded. So they're on our website and you call them up. There's PowerPoints, there's some other ones in there. So I don't do those anymore because it's repetition. When I did it live, it was always just stand-up comedy. So it was okay to keep doing it over and over again. But so now what we do is I'm actually going to revisit configuring the shellfish garden tonight, because we're going to make some changes for folks and give some new tips, some updates. But this is supposed to be a forum for people to interact and to ask questions and to talk marine stuff or anything but politics, I suppose. And so I open it up to anybody. You can unmute yourselves so if you have questions, or you can. I never get around to seeing the chat thing. I'm always kind of doing something else, and I see that people have been asking questions on chat that I never get to. So feel free to chime in, and if you have questions or any comments about what's going on, that's great, or just to say hello. Good. So what I'm going to do is I wouldn't have done this, but Darcy was like, maybe he'll talk about how to configure the garden. And that made me feel like, boy, you really are a slacker, aren't you? Are you going to ever teach anybody anything anymore? Or are you just going to blab about life in general, which I rather do. And we'll blab about.
I was just giving you some space to be you.
I know, but you're much better at keeping me in line than I am. I'm terrible at keeping myself in line. So I'm going to go ahead and revisit some of this. Let me see if I can get this glare out of me. I got a big. What is that? Oh, it's the sun is right in back of me all day. All right, I'm in my living room and I've got tremendous natural light. That's a little better. Okay, so hi everybody. Anybody recognize what this thing is? Yeah, boy, that's like in the old days in high school when you wanted to get a kind of thing going on. Our oyster cage. I'm going to quickly make an oyster cage so I can show you some improvements that we're making. Oh, I forgot to bring in something. It's in my car. That's okay. So the thing I forgot was the reusable cable ties, which are becoming really in vogue. If Kimmy comes in, I'll have her run outside to my truck and grab them. What happened today was I was at Tiana. I go every Tuesday to Dune Road. We have 100 growers on Dune Road. And we've been doing that for about 15 years with the Southampton parks. And so Tuesday's a little crazy, but I keep going through pressure washers. So I had to escape early to go to get new pressure washers today. And I left my kit that I carry everywhere with me with Bart. So I was a little shy. I actually had to run out. I bought a Vespa. So I got on the Vespa and ran down to the hardware store to get this because I had almost everything in front of me except for the removable zip ties. So I'm going to go through everything again. Here's the cage, and everybody kind of knows this. And there's a whole video on how to configure the garden. But you bend these things on the side. I make it look so easy as I'm doing this. And I joke around, but it's no joke that this is the hardest part of the entire Spat program. And it builds character in forearms and calluses, just bending these cages across. So I just turned that envelope into a into a square. And everyone knows this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And I take my scissor from Harbor Freight. By the way, you know, this is the other thing I was thinking of before I came on here. People ask me, should I make a little kit and bring a kit around with me? And, you know, I always have the stuff there and we have it at the Marine Center. But if I were making a kit, I suppose if I were doing this, well, I am doing it, but I mean, if I wasn't the person who was supposed to be really doing it and coming in and saying, okay, I want to grow oysters. Should I have a little kit? Here's what I would have in my kit. Not all scissors are created equal. These are from Harbor Freight and they're $8 as opposed to you go to Home Depot and you get the black and the red ones. They're $17. So these are a really good deal, Harbor Freight. I would have a good pair of scissors. I got this at Ace. Not all orange flagging tape is created equal. This cost me, I just went and I got actually a discount because I bought 4 rolls. I usually buy a case of this, but I bought a case on Amazon. Curse you, Amazon. And they sent me orange flagging tape that's really, could you do me a favor, Kimmy? Could you go in my truck and get me removable cable ties? They're on the front seat. See, that's why I have an assistant. Always carry, I would have that in my kit too. I would have some kind of an assistant in my kit. You'll see them in a little bag. They look like, I would buy, this was $4.60. This stuff and one of these, if I had invested in these 2 items instead of playing the stock market, well, actually stock market's doing pretty well too, but these things are fabulous. And as you all probably already know, if you write on here, which I'm going to write on here, if you write on here your name, somebody at Tiana today said, could you come here? I want to show you something. And she took me over to her car and her license plate was KWT and a number. That's my initials. She said, I thought you'd like that. I really wanted to steal her license plates for my 68 Volvo. But instead I said to her, well, I'm going to be like Rumpelstiltskin. If you can tell me my middle name, then I'll let you keep your license plates. And she said, Winston. I thought that was a pretty good guess, Winston. But that's not my middle name. My middle name is Walfredo. Okay. And my godfather was Walfredo Toscanini, the grandson of Arturo Toscanini. So that's a name dropping for you. So I'm going to write Kim Walfredo. And I was just telling this to the guys at Ace because they were wondering why I buy so much of this orange flagging tape. When I put this, it's got to be the big chisel Sharpie marker and the not glossy flagging tape, because the glossy flagging tape from Amazon doesn't hold. But this right here, when I finish this cage and I drop it in here, that writing will stay all winter long. If you keep pressure washing the thing, you'll pretty much blow this away. That's why I think everyone should have it in their kit. Every time you refreshed your oysters, and now here's the thing, you might say, like Chris is saying, well, I know my oysters, but if you put your phone number and your name on it and your cage disappears, there's a possibility if somebody finds it that they'll give you a call and say, hey, I got this thing that had your name inside of it. It looks like oysters. That you might get them back. I had a guy today at Tiana say, oh yeah, I've got some of those cages with the floats on them. They were always washing up on my beach. Oh, thank you so much. Look at you. Ha. These are from Amazon as well. We're going to go through all of these items. So I'd have this in my kit. I'd have this in my kit. I'd have this in my kit. You don't have to have any kit. I've got all this stuff, but again, I could give you these. These are those nice stainless steel pins. I would have, you have to have 14-inch. These were in my garage. I don't use these. I use the black UV stabilized zip cable ties. 14-inch for the floats, if you're using floats, and 8-inch heavy duty ones for making the bags. But now the new improvement, and boy, I tell you, this Amazon packaging, I couldn't open it. I have to snip it with a scissor, with a Home Depot. There's a lot of product placement going on tonight, okay? I expect to get some kickback from some of these places. And we'll talk about that in a moment. These are these beaded cable ties. A bag of 100 of these, I believe on Amazon, were $6, but I would never have thought that these would be of any use. But one of the guys who actually was also an impetus for this discussion tonight, because he wants people to start reconfiguring at the Marine Center their gardens so we get a little neater and cleaner and more efficient. He's been using the same cable ties for 4 years and they just don't break. Now, if you're in a high energy situation, unlike the Marine Center, then maybe these aren't the answer. But at the Marine Center or any area where there's not a lot of big wave action or a lot of stuff, these are really quite handy, and you can not have to snip your cable ties every time you want to open up the cage. So I'll show you how those work. Okay, so we made we did our bends, and now we're going to cut. Now, when you go to cut, yes, when you go to cut, can turn a light on here. Does that work? Not really. Okay, when you go to cut, you don't want to cut super wide. Like, you want to cut right between the thick and the thin of the mesh. And I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And thick and thin. The reason why you can't make this thing too wide. It screws up the squareness of it. So I'm cutting all the corners. You can catch this on video. I hate doing it. I don't know. It's not that I hate doing this. I can't tell if anyone can see what I'm doing. But it doesn't matter. I'm dropping it.
We can see it, Kim.
Hey, goody. Hey there. How are you doing?
Good.
Thank you for encouraging me to stop rambling and to keep going. Okay. Oh, by the way, you know, I brought your oysters down to Tiana a long time ago. They're down there, the west.
Oh, you did?
I did ages ago.
Oh my God, thank you.
They're on the first cleat, but I thought you might have
Oh,
gone.
good.
Looks like
Wow.
maybe some fell off. I'll have to.
Oh, that's fantastic. We were going to come out next day, but now we don't have to, right?
Down on the first cleat as you go down the ramp. It's the first cleat to the west. Okay, so then I bend the 2 little flaps down and then the 2 flaps. But the whole ticket of this is to get it nice and square and even. Okay, it should really look nice and neat and square and even. And then you take your cable tie, and what I do is I want to get through all 3 mesh. So I'm coming up from the bottom through and closing up the corner. And I just had the zip tie in the wrong. A zip tie only works in one direction. Now I'm going to be very quiet so you can hear it. Let's hear it. You couldn't hear that. I just barely hear. It goes, okay. And I pull it nice and tight. Don't have it loose. There's my camera. Nice and tight. So I do the corner and the other corner. nice and square. If it's not square, just kind of bring it over so it is square, and up through the bottom, through all three mesh. Now, here's the thing. I've watched, the reason why I'm redoing this is I've been very easygoing with everybody. And it's time for me to start cracking the whip. Because you see, if you're making this thing and you put the cable tie on this edge, it didn't do it. It didn't close the thing. I mean, I don't want to say that it's common sense and you should have common sense, because who am I to say what's common sense? But I know I digress. About a quarter of the way in, it's just that, you know, I've been making these cages. This is now cage 6,864 that I've made in my tenure. And when people come in and I say, oh, you know how to make a cage, right? And then they do, I mean, these are people that have been with me for 10 years and they make this terrible cage. It's like, well, you don't know how to make a cage yet? So now here's another interesting thing while I'm over here. These little tails that are sticking out, I used to say, make sure you cut those off because the fouling organisms and like the sea squirts and everything will get on them. But since a lot of people are floating them, if you actually set them standing up, you might be able to keep the birds off of it. You know, they don't want to land on that thing. That could be a little experiment to leave these kind of, maybe the ones on the edge not, but. And on the other end, what I like to do is I bend the little flap down, one little flap down, not the, and one big flap across, and close up the corner on both sides. And again, on the outer edge, not on the inner edge, because the inner edge isn't going to close this thing up. And I was about to put it in backwards, so I just flipped my zip tie around because it has to be the flat end. You should be hearing that click, click, click. So I've got the corner like that, but this is open, so it's the service end. So this is my service end. I'm going to do the other side, same thing. Try to lift it up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. Now I'm balancing on one foot. I could tap dance. And that's that. So now it's looking like that, and it's open. So that when now, here's something that Susan Hoffman said, well, when I do it, I don't close up the end because if I'm putting the floats on the top, it's easier to stick your hand in. That's true. I'm going to show you a little trick on how I like to do that. But let me just show you about these removable while we're here, this removable cable tie. So if I've got this thing like that and I put my oysters in, now I want to close it, I can take these removable cable ties and I come up from underneath. I bring the tail through the diamond and it's little beads, and I bring it tight. Once you have these in the water for a couple weeks or whatnot, they're going to keep the bend. Right now they're straight and they're a little hard to get, but once you get it tight, you pull up on it and the bead locks in the triangle, and you get this nice little closure that when you want to undo it, you just pull it down and it'll undo. And I would like people's feedback on it. I don't want anyone to lose their oysters. You could, if you weren't sure, you could throw a safety regular cable tie in the middle if you wanted to, if you weren't sure. And if you're in high energy place, you could, you know, these things here, they're kind of expensive. We were making them. It turns out we were buying stainless steel spring wire from McMaster-Carr, another product placement. And then I found out that these at Ketchum were cheaper than what we were making, and they're really good spring steel. And these were called, by the way, reclose pins, because the way that these were supposed to work is that you actually went right through the whole cage like this, and then closed it. You have to kind of squeeze it to do it right, but that actually closes it really well too. It's just that these things, I could never afford to give everybody the amount of these that they would need. I am buying them now, and we're using them for clipping them to the lines or whatnot. But again, how much were these? I think they're like 35 cents a piece or something. A bag of 100 is $35 or something. It's just way off, way out of my budget. I'm such a cheap person that my kit would be, I probably would just take it from my neighbor's kit. If I had a neighbor that grew oysters, which I don't. Okay, so that's and again, when you're using these reusable ones, I would use 3, one on either side, one in the middle. Now, what I just did was I just closed this up totally on both sides. So people would say, well, okay, now you're going to have a really hard time putting your floats on. Well, after you've done this a billion times, nothing is. And then where's my Walfredo? Here's Walfredo. I forgot to put it in the thing. No problem. Crumple it up and stick it. If you wanted to, you could stick it right in one of the meshes and just let it go right in there. And I'm telling you something. People that follow this little bit of advice will never lose their oysters, because I've found these things up on the beach. I found them. There's no, you can't even see, but you open up the bag and you find the corroded, fouled orange tape. It's like a kid at a grab bag party. I reach in and I find that orange tag and I spread it out, and sure enough, I can read that name. I know all of your names. There's like 300 families doing this. I know everybody's names. Not really, but kind of do. So there's that. Now, here's some new improved changes that I am going to try to instill on everybody. Again, I buy these 14-inch. This is from I got this with the house when I bought the house. It was in the garage. These 14-inch. I would never use these because they're not UV stabilized, and it probably would break after a short period. But I get the good ones from Cable Ties and More. They're 120-pound test, 14-inch. UV stabilized, and I buy those. I try to get you guys most of the stuff you need. What I do is, watch this. I take this and I put a bend in it. Where's my camera? There's my camera. Okay, I call this, I was showing somebody the other day, and I call this my baccarat stick. Now, where did I get that from? When I was a kid, we only had one channel on the television. They used to play Casino Royale with David Niven and Peter Sellers and Woody Allen and Ursula Andress. It was a James Bond comedy, and the guy Le Chiffre, was a gambler, and he would play baccarat. And it's like, when you're 6 years old, you don't know what baccarat. I still don't know what baccarat is, but I remember Orson Welles saying "Sans calabonk," and he's got the little baccarat stick. So I call that a baccarat stick. I know I'm trying to entertain you. Okay. So here's this. Now watch. I got my pre-bend. Here's my oyster cage. And by the way, I have not determined which way up or down the service end should be. I don't think it matters. I don't think any oysters can get in or out, whether it's this way or this way. it's pretty much the same thing. So this is now going to be the top. And what I do is I take my float. Back in the day, we used to use swim noodles. We don't do that anymore. We got yelled at by all the environmentalists. Let me see if I can get a wider shot here. So here's my float. It's got embossments on it. Not all these floats are equal, but this one has 4 embossments. So it's got 1, 2, and then 3, 4. So what I do is I place it down on a float. But now what we're going to do is we're going to hold it all the way to the edge, not on the side. Now, here's the thing. Here's what we're trying to convey. There's 2 kinds of spat people. There's a lot of kind of spat people, but I'm going to talk about the 2 kinds of potential theoretical spat people. The flippers and the never flippers. Okay, the flippers are the folks that are floating their cages, which, by the way, you don't have to do, but a lot of people are floating their cages. A lot of commercial people are floating their cages. If you put your floats on the side, right on the side, now, if you wanted to, and they're out on the line, you could flip them over, and the fouling organisms that are on the bottom are now baking in the sun, and you can keep flipping them. You could do that. But what's happened with spat is I've made pressure washer addicts out of pretty much all of you. Now you pull your stuff up, you hit it with the pressure washer. It looks pretty awesome. And nobody flips their cages anymore. And on that note, today we were at Tiana and somebody had their cages floating upside down. So the floats were on the top, but the floats were like on the bottom. So don't do that. I could tell you who it was, but they might be watching and I don't want to embarrass their knuckleheadness. If you're putting the floats on the top, make sure they're on the top, which means not underwater, because now your oysters are baking in the sun all the time. That's a no-no. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to hold it all the way to the edge. Here's the edge. And I'm holding it all the way to the edge, not on the edge, but on the top of the edge. And I'll tell you why in a minute. And then what I'm doing, let me see, get here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cable tie. I line up the embossment with the cable tie through the edge of the cage, shoot it across with the baccarat stick. It comes up, and there I am. And I cable tie it. Okay. Now I know that I'm going to see if I can do that so that you can see it a little better. I make my little bend. Made my bend. I go over here where the embossment is. I'm going, that was my scissor, no problem. I'm going through the cage. That was my my knife, and there's all kinds of things falling off my desk. So I'm going there and it pops up right from the top. Very simple, actually. It's not as easy to do it if you're not doing it on the very end. And by the way, you really need a 14-inch cable tie. Nothing else, a 13-inch won't make it. So I'm in there. And now I'm all the way on the edge. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And there's a reason for this. There's a couple reasons for this. One is, if you're a symmetry buff, I don't want emojis. What did I just hit? Get rid of the emoji. If you're a symmetry buff like I am, you want things to look nice and even and orderly. If you're not a symmetry buff, then do it any way you want. You don't have to, by the way, you don't ever have to listen to anything I tell you. I'm just giving you recommendations, let's say. If you want to do it your own way, all the power to you. If you lose your oysters, they float off to sea, or they sink, or the floats are backwards or reversed or upside down, and then that's your own problem. I gave you my best shot at it, and then you decided to not listen to me. That's fine. I won't yell at you. I'll yell at you if you say, I lost my oyster. You know, go see the knot tying lecture that we did last time. Because, you know, if you say your neighbors or somebody stole your oysters and you don't know how to tie a bowline or a half hitch or a constrictor knot or something, then you probably, you know, will find your oysters in a couple months somewhere else. So now what we've done is this. We've made this gorgeous cage with the floats all the way at the edge. Now they're going to float deeper in the water, might be a little cooler, not that much cooler these days, but a little cooler. If you're, you know, this is by the way, the medium-sized mesh. When you're getting your new seed, you're using the smaller mesh, and it'll be a little harder to get the cable tie through the mesh, but you only have to do it once. If you wait too much longer to get your seed, it'll retain in this. We're calling the seed in this mesh anyway. I just don't like people to start off their new seed in this mesh. I like the smaller mesh. But here's your cage all made up. And I'm already seeing that these removable zip ties are not staying. Are they going to stay? No, it was just me. Okay. So you got your removable cable ties. And I'm going to say the service end should be up. Because if it's down, no, I guess maybe it doesn't matter. So there's your thing. It's got a little orange tag in it. Now watch this. Here's the other thing I would put in my kit. Product placement. This is a Dixon paint marker. Dixon paint marker. You shake it up a little bit. It's got the little thing. Now, here's the lesson for you. It's got this tip. It's paint. If you press in really far, you're going to push the tip right into the pen, and then this $7 pen will be completely useless, okay? If you treat it with respect, you keep the top close by. As a matter of fact, you can put it on there so you don't lose it. Shake it up. When you get the thing at the beginning, you got to prime it. So just press down lightly to get the paint flowing, and then you just write, and I'm just doing my new improved, how do you spell my name? Okay. So, and I could do it on, I'm going to do it on both. Hold on. And if you do this on the top and let it dry before you put it in the water, there's a good chance that this will last you pretty much all season. You could also refresh it. So, can you see there? Wow, Fredo. Okay. Now, there's also our famous blue tags, which I don't have, but we make these blue tags. We write our name in black marker. We burn them in with a soldering iron. You can't, if you're growing at Tiana or at the Marine Center, I can't tell you how many times you should be labeling your stuff, but incessantly, because I don't want anybody ever losing their oysters. If you're at your own home, your own dock, I still recommend putting your phone number on it, because people are losing their stuff in storms. And, you know, I get other people that call me and say, I found somebody's blah, blah, blah on the thing. I don't know whose it is. So it's at least an attempt to retrieve your stuff. So here's your nice cage. Now I want to show you one other thing in a moment, but you got all the things for your kit, your zip ties, your tape, your 2 marker pens, your black marker, your white paint marker. Now all of a sudden the program's getting expensive. your removal. You don't have to get any of this stuff. I carry it around all the time, but you might want to act like you're professional, like I try to act. And, but it's not like I'm telling people, I'm not like a school teacher. You're back to school now. Get your lunch box and you're going to get your new little clothes and things. You know, this isn't back to school. But people ask me, scrub brush, a little bucket. Some people like having a wire cutter for a nipper, all of that stuff, whatever you want to do. I mean, eventually you're going to be driving a 4x4 down the beach with all your gear. You got the tumbler, you got your cement. Chris is going to buy a cement mixer. I mean, people are going to think you're out of your mind. But what I suggest is just keep hitting up your family for presents. You know, what do you want for, they never knew what to get you. Now they know what to get you, a stainless steel chainmail glove, various knives, and gosh, you're just going to be so well kitted out. You'll be like me. I mean, I just abound in oyster memorabilia, including my new improved Walfredo cage. Okay. So there's that. Now, the reason why, here's another thing. Now, when we go to put these on the line, we're trying to give people these stainless steel pins. These are really good quality. There was a time when we were making them and it was not strong enough gauge metal and they weren't working. These ones here, what I do is you can take the pin and on two ends, you're going through the cage, all the way through the cage. I'm going to close it so I don't lose it. I'm going to take another pin on the other side and put it through here. And then I have some rigging. Yeah, it fell to the ground, but I got some rigging here. So here's here's your line. Let's say this is your pull line that you have. On one end, the line can go right through. And on the other end, we open up the pin, we open up the lay of the line. And so you twist it and you open it up so it opens up. And now you can put the pin through the line and close it. So now when you pull, it pulls. It won't slip. Look at that. Beautiful. Now I want to show you one other variation. If you're all of a sudden having a lot of, you've really been doing the program for a while, you've got a lot of cages. Now you might have a train of like 6, 7 cages, and it's like, wow, and these floats, they cost $6 a piece. I'm going broke in this stupid program. You know, I thought it was, so here's a way of consolidating a little bit. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to, oh, did I bring enough? Yes, I did. I'm going to rapidly, now here, this is for your entertainment. If anyone has any questions, now's a great time to chime in, because what I'm going to do while you're chiming in is I'm going to make a second case here.
Where do you get the beaded cable ties and the steel pins and the 14-inch cable tie?
Well, what you do is you've got to go to grad school, and that might take you a while. But once you're in grad school, you'll become a member of the Aquaculture Society, and you can get all of the, these are from Amazon. And actually, if you want these, you have to go on Amazon. I hate to say, product placement of all things Amazon, but it's the only place I've actually found them is on Amazon.
And what do they say? Beaded cable tie?
What you do is in the search, you put in 6-inch beaded cable tie. Because if you put in like reusable cable ties, you get these really weird looking things made out of like Velcro or something, and they're incredibly expensive. So you definitely want something that's going to be 6-inch beaded cable tie, a bag of 100 for around $6. If you're seeing anything else than that, it's the wrong thing. It took me a while to find them too.
Okay.
The pins, I think what I'll do is, these are from Ketchum Supply in New Bedford, but I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and invest in a big load of these so I have them available, and I don't mind giving these out. I mean, you know, I hate nickeling and diming people. We normally don't charge for, we don't even charge, these cages are up to $7 a piece now. The only thing that we're really kind of crazy because of the shipping are the floats end up costing me. I have you paying $6 for them, but they cost more like $7.50 with the shipping. But, you know, we're trying to keep the costs down because it's just silly. And I can get you all, you know, we can, maybe what we'll do is let's have a kit making party one day, and we'll just make up a whole bunch of kits, and I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to do some stuff that's coming up. I haven't even pitched this other idea I have, which I will later. Let me make so we can, the cable ties are easy to get. The pins are a little trickier to get because the only supplier I know of is Ketchum. And they might be able to be shipped. I can take care of that for a while. We'll take care of the pins. Or I could show you, I could introduce you to our resident retired orthodontist that that makes them. I think he was sad that he retired as an orthodontia and he wanted to still bend metal and with torture type of tools. So he bends the pins for me, but it turns out they were like 50 cents a piece and you can buy them for 35. So that was a little silly. So we cut him off and now he doesn't know what to do with himself. So I don't know. I never encourage him to practice orthodontia on Spat members just to keep himself occupied. That just doesn't seem like a proper or safe thing to do. Okay, so we made up another cage, and here's what I think some folks are going to know where I'm heading with this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Because I'm going to show you a couple things. Do I have any more cable ties? That's pretty good. Okay. So we have, I'm going to use these recycle ones on the corners too, and just close this up. So I show you what I'm doing. Oops, and we're over here.
Kim, while you're doing that, it's Katie Girandola.
Hey.
Hi.
Good.
I was just you said that the power washers, you had to buy new ones. Do you have them at the Marine Center for tomorrow? Are we good there?
Oh, of course. I mean, I'm talking, Tiana goes, so we go through pressure wash. I bought 3 new pressure washers today. I bought one from, I'm going through the motions of finding out the best, cheapest, and most hardy of these pressure washers. And what I've found is that none of them are. But Harbor Freight, it's $89. And what I did with this, I've bought 3 of them from Harbor Freight, and 2 of them I have a 2-year warranty on for an extra $30. So I'm hoping that you guys blow them up every other month, and I see how many I get as they blow up. Maybe it's only a one-time deal, and then I'm going to be mad at them because they will have shanghaied me into. But if we blow it up every month and get a new one, then boy, I'll just keep buying those. I bought a Ryobi. So the Harbor Freight one is called a something with a P. We have one at the Marine Center. It's working great. It makes a kind of a funny noise, kind of like it's having an asthma attack at the end. You use it, it goes, and then when you stop, it goes, whoa. Boy, that hurt. If I was a pressure washer, I'd have to get. Okay, and the other one are these Ryobis, and that was $99. The one at the Marine Center, that $99 one, is working great. I mean, it's got a lot of pressure. It's really good. I also bought new hoses. The hoses turn out to cost $29. We go through hoses. They're not they're kind of brittle and they cannot handle a pinhole leak. They just start going all over the place. So somebody at Tiana clearly busted up the pressure washer and put it back, and that's fine. I don't care. I used to buy the gas ones for like $400, and we'd blow those up every 3 months, and they were loud and annoying and took gas, and you had to pull start. So these electric ones are really quite great. And I don't mind, even if we go through a couple $100 worth of, I also have a guy in our workshop that loves to take them apart and try to get them working again. So that keeps him out of my hair all the time. So, okay, watch this. Here's our one that we made, the Walfredo edition. Okay, now what I'm going to do, here's my second one with no floats on it. So what I'm going to do is I made up two. We have a lot. I made a mistake this year. It was kind of a boneheaded mistake. We have 100 growers at Tiana, and everyone has their own lines. And the lines are about 300 feet long. And I went to put all the lines out, and all the lines were gone. And I said, somebody took all of the lines. So I went to the store, to the Gear Works, and I bought, it was like $700 worth of new potwarp. And then I opened up a closet door at the Marine Center and found all my lines. So now I have a lot of potwarp. If anyone needs rigging, I've got a lot. So I cut 2 lengths of 2 fathoms. Everyone knows that there's 6 feet in a fathom. In my case, there's 5'7" in a fathom, according to Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, that's a fathom, 5'7". Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do I've done this before and everyone's seen it, but I'm going to take it, and I happen to have cut these and I burned the ends, so they go right through. So I just went through there, and I'm going with the other side, and I kind of match it up, again, symmetry, and I'm going through there. Notice that this bag is completely closed up, so I'm banking on that I'm going to be able to, without any reading glasses or anything. So I just did this. I take my 2 bitter ends and I bring it even. So now this is even. Okay. Now to lock it in place, I'm just doing a round turn and through. Not a complicated knot. You could do a figure-8 knot if you wanted to, but you don't really need to. You just need to lock that in place so it doesn't slip. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I think everyone knows where I'm going with this, but I'm going to show you what Bob Gatehouse, if he's watching and neighbors are watching. And by the way, the hydrangeas that I scored from these folks, he gave me white ones, you gave me purple ones. I'm going to have to take some pictures because my wife she's really got a green thumb. These hydrangeas are unreal how beautiful they are. And we're very appreciative of that. And I hope you are all happy that they went to a good home. Okay, now this is going to be an issue because what I did was I'm going to cut it. You see this crazy bend? That's just not going to cut it. So I can't get it. So I just cut it. So now it's straight. Now I can go through. I don't want to bore anybody here. And I think you know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because Bob wants to get people to tighten up their rigging at the Marine Center because we really are almost at capacity there, and we can save on some real estate. And I'm going to show you how. And also, part of it is just that if you're growing at the Marine Center or at Tiana, you know that your neighbor you're always bumping into your neighbor's line, and so we're going to try to tighten that up. I did this the same way, leveled it, evened it out. I'm going to do my round turns to lock it in place. So now what I end up with is I've got the cage with a line going all the way through the bottom. By the way, you could do this just on your cages as handles, you know? You got these nice little handles, they're points of attachment, they're all kinds of nice things. Rigging is always fun to play with. Now what I'm gonna do, I take my hand, 4 fingers, and I use it as a measuring stick. And I'm tying another knot at the top of my hand, 4 fingers up. So I'm going here, just a round turn. It's not a fancy knot. It just goes around. And it's 4 fingers apart, the knots. So I'm doing that on all 4 sides. And you'll see the obviousness of what I'm up to. This is, the thing is, if you make these, you never have to unmake them. Use them for eternity. I mean, you could hang onions in your kitchen from them if you want to, I guess. We got a ton of garlic this year, everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to drop this one down onto it. So I'm taking one of my lines, and obviously I want to line this up. I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to go through. And through. And I'll just do one. Maybe I don't want to bore anyone, so I might just do one side because it's pretty obvious where I'm heading with this thing. I'm making a bridle of 2 with the top one being floating. And so I did that. And again, I do my round turn to lock it in place so it can't slip. Pull it tight, a round turn so it can't slip. And now what I've got, I could do the other side so you could see it. Wouldn't take that long. But, if I take these 2 lines and I just tie them together, now I'll pretend that I did the other side. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just do the other side. Because now you've got, forget it. I got to do the other side. It's too hard to even mock up. It doesn't take that long. We're almost done anyway. I've been playing some music with Chuck and Jive at Bart's Oyster Pop-Up in West Hampton Beach. And let me tell you something. This is right on Potuck Road, across the street from the police station. And the police love Bart. It's the Happy Oyster Company, and boy, the food is just fantastic. They're only open on Saturday from like noon to 8, and it's a great time. It's such an amazing vibe. And so if you get a chance, we'll be playing there again. We played last Saturday, and we played 2 Saturdays before that, and it's a lot of fun, and people came out, and boy, the food is just unreal. And I suppose, I know Bart's not doing it to make money, so I think the prices are all right. I never have given him anything, so I guess that's pretty good. Okay, now we can show you. So now this thing is going to be floating and suspending the one on the bottom. So now what you've got is you've shortened the train of them. And you've done a whole bunch of interesting different things. If you're concerned about water temperature, you could look and see if the ones on the bottom, which are in cooler water, might be giving you different growth than the ones on the top. The flotation is going to be plenty for certain amounts of oysters. I mean, if you overload these with big oysters, you might sink them a little bit. I doubt it. That's a lot of flotation. when they're on the side and it's new seed, it's like the things are levitating over the water, and it concerns me because it's almost like the cages only have maybe 2 inches that they're in the water, and the rest is out of the water all the time. There's so much flotation. So the other thing is this. What we're trying to do, and I used up my rigging to make the thing, is that your line, if you're 2 lines, you've got a pull line. It's like a clothesline, but eventually you have these 2 lines. If you put both of them on the top in between your floats, they won't be going off into your neighbors and tangling up. And if they're all kept straight and kind of tight, they'll be in between your floats in your train, and they won't drift away and get. So we're going to look at that, and we'll help people out. But that's kind of the some of the new improved. I mean, I gotta say, I think tomorrow I'm going to go to the Marine Center and I'm going to launch the Walfredo train, the tandem, the Walfredo tandem. I don't know what I'll put in it. Maybe some oysters. If I can find any oysters, I'll put some oysters in it. Maybe I'll grow some oysters. I just grow oysters. So when people say, hey, you got any oysters? I say, yeah, I think I got an oyster, and I give you an oyster. Good. So that was some configuring the garden. Now, keep in mind, there are many ways, and the videos talk about all kinds of different ways of configuring your garden. You don't have to float these. You could grow in lantern nets. You could grow in bottom trays. You can float them. We can help you with, and you can experiment too. You know, there's no reason. I still have a lot of sunlight in back of me. Wow, okay. What a bright house I have. I have such a bright house. Good. It's because we ripped off all of the bamboo window treatments when we first moved in. They were from like the 2005, very dusty. So we got rid of that, and now we wake up full of sun and are very happy. All the berries are, we've got blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, wineberries, elderberries, and mulberries. And boy, do I have the most awesome breakfasts these days on lemon scones. I'm living the life. I hope everyone else is living the life, because I'm going to pitch something to you now. We're going on our 25th year. This is year 24 of Spat. So next year will be our silver anniversary. And I have some folks that are very interested in making a documentary film to shop out to Sundance and to Tribeca and some other places. We've decided to maybe spread the word more than on the east end of Long Island. So we're gonna try to make this film, and it wants to be a good, no, it can't be boring, you know, it's got to be fun, it's got to be educational, but not sanctimonious or you know, or even patting ourselves on the back. It's just about showing folks within a community how to re-engage in quality of life and making the world a better place without being holier than thou type of approach to it. And Spat really has proven to me to be just an astoundingly fulfilling program for me, to just watch what it's done for folks that get involved in this. It's remarkable how well people get along, how we've become a family. Some might call us a cult. If this is a cult, I'm fine with this as a cult. It's a good cult. You know, I have somebody that calls me Kimmy Jones from way back when the press called it a cult. But, you know, I'm not trying to mold anybody into anything. I just witness people having a really good time with something that is healthy, that is environmentally friendly, that is interesting. It's different. It offers a lot of things. And so we want to get this movie out. the fellow who wants to make it, he just won an award for his last documentary he made. He just won a whole bunch of awards in California and Block Island, and he's shopping it out. It's about a kelp farmer, about the big kelp in California, kelp farmer. And he wants to call it 7 knots, which I just love for a couple reasons, because, you know, folks that have seen some of my things that I do know that I love knots and rigging and stuff, but there's something much more heady about 7 knots. So there are 7 knots that everyone should learn. Also, 7 knots is a good cruising speed. And these knots are just so symbolic to me. So I'll give you, for instance, I just learned for the first time, and I'm still practicing it, how to tie a constrictor knot. Now, why have I never tied a constrictor knot? Because a constrictor knot is a knot that is very hard to untie. And what a constrictor knot is used for is to make a permanent bond. One of the fellows that is a very excellent rigger, Brian Toss, said that a good constrictor knot can replace a hose clamp, which is kind of an amazing thought, that a piece of rigging can replace a hose clamp. So to me, a constrictor knot as a symbol of a almost unbreakable bond is very meaningful, because, you know, we're forming bonds that are very strong in the community with this gardening thing we're doing, with this oyster thing we're doing. And it goes on and on. Like a bowline is something that will not slip under pressure. I could find little segues into all kinds of things with 7 knots. So I'm looking forward to we have a working budget. We haven't pitched it to get the money yet. We're going to try to get something going. We're going to do some fundraisers and try to get everyone involved in this, getting our word out. Do I care? Kind of don't, because you know, people that know me know I don't advertise. I don't beat myself into the ground with trying to get our word out. I just want to do our program and have people be happy. But you know, when I got somebody like Otto, who's been with me for 23 of 24 years, it makes me wonder the tenaciousness of this program and the folks that are involved in it. It's just astounding to me. And it is refreshing to me, because the world is turbulent, but our world is, I think, less turbulent. And we should spread that. We should spread that information, that the world doesn't necessarily have to be tense and turbulent. It can be it can be a true community getting along and sharing and enjoying. So we'll see where that goes. You know, if it doesn't go anywhere, that won't be the end of me. But, you know, one day, people say, you know, I've been doing Spat for 24 years. I've been with Cornell for 29 years. And people say, when are you going to retire? And I look at Otto, who's 88. It's like, what's my incentive for retirement? So that I can quit my job and volunteer for my replacement? It just doesn't sound right to me. So I'm going to run myself, like some of you are doing, as far as I can go. And we'll see. But I'm just thrilled at Spat, because it has brought together the nicest people I could ever hope to spend my life with. And I want to keep doing that. That's why we're going to meet on these things, just to, you know, talk it up. If you had questions, people know that I do respond to my emails. I do respond to my calls. You know, I try not to keep anybody hanging. And that's part of why this program is so powerful, is that it's here. It's not like, oh, well, I joined 6 months ago and I haven't really been around, or I don't know what's going on. You know, we try to not have that happen. So we're going to keep that going. And keep in touch well, I can't really talk about Garrison Keeler. He was canceled. I hope I don't get canceled. Maybe one day I will. I don't know. But I just noticed that Garrison Keeler will be performing in Riverhead at the Riverhead Suffolk Theater or something. It's like, oh, Garrison Keeler. Okay. But he used to say, do good work, keep in touch, do good work, and something like that. I don't know. Any comments, questions? I'll let you go to dinner. Blue Claws are running. Everyone's happy.
That's great, Kim. Thank you.
That's
Thank
no
you.
worries. I say this over and over again. This program is all of us. It's not me, and it's not just you. It's all of us. And that's very powerful. And I thank you all. And keep in touch. And if you need anything, you know where to find us. Goody?
Might want to mention about the Spat picnic, make sure people put it on their calendar.
Oh my gosh. See, now Darcy, Spat picnic, yes. Okay. Actually, it's only like 2 or 3 months away, but we do the Spat picnic every year, except for the one year we missed it with COVID, but we have a new location in Mattituck. Last year, the only issue was the bees. So we're going to try to address the yellow jackets. I think I have an answer for that too. I think it's the soda. We're going to have to be a little more careful with our soda containers, because boy, did we have yellow jackets last year. But we had a great time, and we went through a big thing. So it's always, I think, the second weekend of September. But Darcy,
Yeah, it's Saturday, September 14th.
well, see, I got it right. See, I'm
Yep.
not completely out of the loop, but we will get information. It's a party not to be missed. It's always been a lot of fun, and we'll get you plenty of information. But we are doing that again, and as we always have, and that's coming up. What else is coming up? We will keep you informed with other stuff. If you want to see some jazz, I've got 3 gigs at the Ramshead Inn with the jazz band. If you want to see some I just had band practice before this. I had a very busy day today. I can't wait to get off and eat some dinner and let you guys go. But we will keep you posted. Darcy, let's give a shout out to Darcy, because Darcy is like a magician when it comes to the emails. I don't even have an email list anymore. Darcy controls all of our destinies with her emails, and she's gotten not only really awesome at it, but her sense of humor I think some of my weirdness is rubbing off on Darcy. Because all of a sudden I'm seeing some really awesome, funny, and it's not me. I just throw some little stuff out. Now she's my,
Thank you.
I'm her dummy that sits on her lap. She controls. It's not the other way around. So we'll get plenty of emails out to everybody and keep in the loop. And
Have a good night, everybody.
excellent,
Thanks, Darcy. Thanks, Kim.
excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kim.
And I'm going to stop recording, and that's it.